Hey guys, so I'm gonna do something a little different, a little unorthodox with this video. I've got a speech tomorrow, and I wanted to just practice the speech. I'm gonna be covering a couple of principles that I haven't looked at in a while, so I know that I know them. I just need to remind myself that I know them. I just need to get them refreshed and refined. So I've been creating the kind of outline for the speech today. It's not too long, it's only got to be about 30 minutes or so. And I just needed some fresh air. So I've come up here to the rooftop garden that I'm very blessed to have above my flat, or above my apartment, as the Americans might call it. And I thought, I'm just going to walk along here, I'm going to get some fresh air. And I thought, whilst I'm up here, I could film a little video. And I thought, whilst I'm up here, I could also practice my speech. So here I'm killing about 3 birds with 1 stone here. In that I'm going to practice my speech for tomorrow, and then I can use this video, and then after I've done the speech I can publish this for all the guys who who weren't there to see the speech, and also just some extra value for you guys. And I can chop up the various segments of the video and edit it, expand upon it, etc, etc. So let me, without further ado, tell you about the speech that I'm going to be doing tomorrow. Or if you're watching this in the future, I've actually already done it. Crazy stuff, right? So what I want to talk about is relationships, because as I look around me in the world right now, the biggest problem that I see that we've really got to face as a collective, as a human race, is our relationships. You need to look at what's gone on in the last year, and to be honest, what's been simmering under the surface for a lot longer than the last 12 months. Look at what's been going on politically, the political division, the religious turmoil, the social and economic variability and conflict that's been going on in our world. There is this huge epidemic with our relationships right now. And this isn't just in the international sense, this isn't just in the collective sense. All this stuff that's going on in the world right now is really a macrocosm, a bigger picture of what's happening at the microcosm, the individual picture. Our individual relationships are not good right now. We have divorce rates at 50% right now, and in fact that is an average divorce rate. That is over the course of everyone's relationships. If you boil it down to what your first marriage is likely to be, then it is more than 50% likely to end in divorce. That's some scary stuff. I listened to a study, it came out about a year or so ago, and this study found that 1 in 5 couples in the UK are either about to break up or are seriously considering it. 1 in 5! Now, these figures just bamboozle me. I think, why have we allowed our relationships to get so bad? What is causing this strife and this division in our relationships, both at this individual level and at the wider world level? I don't think it's because we as humans can't connect with each other. We've been connecting throughout the generations. If you look at our journey of relationships and ultimately of love and connection is a consistent character in our narrative. We as humans come together naturally. So why are our relationships suffering? And I think that there is a loss and a disconnect with love in our world right now. If you look at all the things that are going on in the world, they're not driven by love. Indeed, there is such an absence of love there. Because what we've allowed to take over our narrative right now is fear. And fear is the antithesis of love. Fear is what blocks us from going into love. In life, we only ever have 2 decisions that we can make. Decisions based on fear, or decisions based on love. And right now, what's causing all these problems in our relationships is that we are choosing decisions based on fear, not based on love. And so what I'd like to do today is to break through some of the fears that we have, so that we can break through what what is limiting us and what's holding us back from being loving beings, both in our close relationships but also as a wider collective. And for me, there are three main limiting fears that hold us back from being in love and from giving love. Of course, there's a variety of fears, but I think there are three primary ones. And these are actually fears that I talk about in my book, and I'll explain a little bit more about the book later. But first of all, I'd like to share the first fear with you. And this fear is the fear I've completely forgotten what the first fear is. The first fear that holds us back when it comes to relationships is that somewhere in our past, love has hurt us. We've been in a loving relationship or had a loving experience that ultimately caused us pain. Now, this might be a breakup. This could be the loss of someone we loved. And I know these experiences all too well. My parents got divorced when I was 4 years old. This was very painful for me at that particular time in my life. I've had a girlfriend leave me for another guy. It's a horrible experience. It really devalues your self-worth and your belief in yourself, your very efficacy as a human. And when I was 22, I also lost my dad to cancer. I literally lost love through a death. And I know that these experiences can be very, very painful. But what is really important to realize in these scenarios is that it wasn't love that hurt us. You see, love never hurts. Love never takes away. Love only heals and energizes, it only adds. What gets hurt in these scenarios is our ego. You see, our ego takes a separation personally. When we lose someone to a breakup or to death, we lose certain constructs that are comfortable for the ego. We lose connection, we lose security, we lose someone caring about us, someone looking out for us. And our ego doesn't like that, because our ego is always looking out for number one. It's always looking out for itself. And in this separation scenario, the ego takes a hit. And our ego doesn't like us taking a hit, so it will take measures to protect itself from that happening again. Now, unfortunately, this can lead to our ego blocking us from being in love. And indeed, going to the psychological level, if someone suffers a severe emotional wound, a severe negative emotion, then our brain actually kicks in this defense mechanism where it blocks us from feeling that emotion. It blocks our neural circuits that are connected to that emotion. So we no longer feel that emotion, it no longer hurts us. But the problem is, this is a nuclear option. You can't just pinpoint one specific negative emotion. If you target one thing, it starts to block everything. And so we experience this inability to even feel emotion in the first place. And this is what holds a lot of us back in relationships, is because our ego took a hit during a separation, we block ourselves from emotion. And emotion is absolutely key to enjoying deep, meaningful relationships and ultimately to live in love. And so we've got to remove this fear. We've got to recognize that our ego can't control us. We've got to let love back into our lives. And indeed, actually, love, ironically, is a healing force. Not just in a psychological, emotional way, but actually physiologically, love heals us. When we experience love and connection with someone, one of our hormones called oxytocin is released. Now, oxytocin gives us that warm, fuzzy feeling when we're with someone who's close with us and we feel that connection with someone. And what oxytocin does is it actually blocks our pain and stress receptors. So you may notice if there's a child playing in the playground and they fall and cut their knee, they immediately run over to their mum, and their mum gives them a kiss better. And then suddenly that child is off playing again as if nothing had ever happened. And this isn't just some childish ritual, this isn't just a placebo effect. that kiss and that care from the mum activates that kid's oxytocin, and it causes them to stop feeling the pain from that wound. And love can do the same thing for us if we open ourselves up and let it to. Now, the second fear or limit that we have when it comes to love is that there's nobody out there who will love us. We've been searching for the one for ages. We've been trawling the dating sites and the bars and coffee shops of the world, and there's just no one out there. We can't find love. And this is one of the most stupid statements that we can make. Because out there right now, let me show you. Out there right now are 7 billion people. Just in this city that I stand alone, there's about 500,000 people. Now, out of those, however many thousands or millions of people live in your city, however many of the billions of people who live in the world, there will be someone who you can find love with. The reason that you haven't been able to find love is probably because you've fallen for the Hollywood myth that love is meant to be. We have the Prince Charming who rescues the princess. We all have that one out there with their name written on our heart. And when we find this person, we have the happily ever after scenario. Now, the thing that Hollywood and the films don't show you is what happens after the happily ever after. A relationship is not something you can get complacent with and just stop as soon as you've found the right relationship. Relationships need to be worked on. You see, love is a feeling, but it's also a skill. And like any skill, it requires appropriate time and dedication to cultivate and grow it. And what so many people do in the relationships is as soon as the going gets tough, instead of working on that problem, instead of trying to address that and overcome that challenge, they give up on the relationship. One party or the other forms a separation. And so what happens? You never overcome that obstacle and barrier in your relationship. So you start finding that you repeat that problem and you keep on hitting that pain point again and again in your relationships because you've never actually done the work to overcome it. And so this is the second limit that holds us back from removing ourselves from fear and opening ourselves up to love. Now, the third fear, and what is often the most ingrained and poisonous belief that some individuals have, is that they're not worthy of love. Through the various conditionings and the experiences and interactions they've had in their lives, they've been told, it's been forced into them, that they aren't worthy of love. And this is an incredibly hard belief to overcome, and it can take a lot of work. And I certainly can't achieve that breakthrough in the short time that I have with you. But what I will say is that every human being deserves love. You see, we as humans are born as loving beings. Look at the way a baby looks at someone. When you look into a baby's eyes, what do you get but anything less than 100% love? A baby looks at people with unconditional love. The baby sees the love within you. And the baby has nothing but love within them. When you look into a baby, you're looking into the eyes of someone who hasn't been scarred and blemished by the whims of society, the things that other people tell them, the experiences that have beaten them down. At the essence of a baby is pure love. And that essence of pure love is still within you. No matter how much you've been beaten and bruised in love, you still have that love within you. And so I would just like to tell you that you are worthy of being loved. And sadly, that's perhaps something that you've never been told before. And I think that's something that we need to tell our partners, our children, our parents, our family members, our friends, our colleagues at work, a whole lot more. So guys, I've just got to do a quick time check as... Alright, awesome, 15 minutes. Quick time check as I am doing this to prepare for my speech tomorrow, but this is also an educational video for you guys that I can post up later on the social medias. So So what I'd like to do now is, after outlining those fears and how they hold us back and how we need to confront them, let's look at the strategy. How do we go about this? And so I think the first thing that's so important for us to do is to let go. We need to let go of the baggage that we're carrying around us in our lives. All of the heartache and the conflict and the shit we've gone through. One of the mentors that I follow, he talks about this big pile of shit. And we all carry this shit around us in our lives. And we keep on adding to it. And we carry it around and it stinks. And it makes us feel inadequate because we feel that we stink. And it blocks us in our relationships because others also feel that we stink. And it creates this barrier and repulsion to living life to the fullest, most loving expression. So what we need to do is to let go of that pile of shit. And the way that we do this is through forgiveness. Because when it comes to relationships, we are really modeled on our prior relationships. Our education on relationships largely comes from the relationships that we've had in the past, the models that we had growing up. And sadly, this is not always the best education. And so we may find ourselves in our relationships that we've come to points of conflict and we have anger and resentment towards others. Maybe it's our parents, maybe it's our ex-partners, maybe it's a business partner who did us over, maybe it's a friend who broke a promise. Whatever it is, if you are still holding that resentment, then you have allowed that person to hurt you twice. Once through the original thing that they did, whatever it was, and twice because you're still holding that hurt and pain with you, and you're still allowing it to impact your actions and interactions in a negative way. So what we need to do is release the resentment, release the conflict that we have in terms of other people. And so the way that I've done this personally in my life, and the way that I recommend others to do, is to write a forgiveness letter. And this is a letter addressed to that person. It's not something that you have to give them personally, although that can be a very powerful thing to do if the context and the circumstances are right. And in this forgiveness letter, you just write out all of the things that that person did, all of the ways that they made you feel, all the things that have happened as a result of whatever it is they did to you and however they've shaped you and changed you. And as you write down every single transgression, whether it's a real one, whether it's your subjective interpretation, whether it's an imagined one, after every part that you write, you simply write for this, and then you write their name, put a comma, and you say the powerful words, I forgive you. And you repeat this for every single transgression. You write the transgression, and afterwards you write, for this, insert their name, I forgive you. Now, sometimes there's a very important person that we need to write this letter to. It's a person who has influenced every single one of us in our lives. And it's the most powerful influence in our lives. And it's often the person who brings us the most pain, the most conflict, and is the person that we need to forgive most. And no, it's not Donald Trump. It's ourselves. We are our own worst enemies. We are our harshest critics. And all of the things that we believe that we've done wrong in our lives, real or imagined, we carry around the pain and conflict of those things. And that blocks us from living in love. Because as we continue to hold these things, we live in a state of fear. We live in a state of fearing the past and what's happened. And we fear that we will repeat that stuff again, or we will experience that stuff again. And we really just need to let this go. And so sometimes you need to sit down and write that very important letter to that very important person, yourself. And you use the exact same process. You write down all of the transgressions, real or imagined, and after everything that you think you've done to yourself or you think that you haven't done for yourself, you just simply write that sentence. For this, let's say I'm writing it to myself. For this, David, I forgive you. And then what you can do after writing this forgiveness letter as a transformational gesture, as a moment of ceremony. You take that letter Maybe it's one page, maybe it's several. And then you go and burn that paper. Get yourself a lighter or a match, or put it on a barbecue or the fireplace at home, whatever it is, and you burn that letter. And the act of burning is ceremonial. The paper transforms into ash. Your guilt transforms into forgiveness. And that is no longer a part of you anymore. You've let it go. And that's the first important step to open yourself up away from fear and into love. Now, the second strategy is to really define what standards you set for yourself in a relationship. If you don't want relationships full of conflict, full of pain, full of fear, then what do you need to have in those relationships to be free of that feeling? And again, this is a writing exercise, a reflective exercise. Really write a vision for yourself. What would your ideal relationship look like? Whether that is a relationship with your parents, a relationship with your partner, a relationship with your children, a relationship with friends, colleagues, clients, whatever it is, what is your ideal relationship? What standards do you hold yourself to in this relationship? What principles is this relationship founded upon? How does the interaction of this relationship look on a day-to-day basis? What do you do? How do you make each other feel? Get all down in print. Really set out for yourself a vision statement of how you want your relationships to be. As I think so many of us don't have a clear idea what we want from our relationships in our lives. And it's a stereotype, and it's a classic scenario of you hear of the person who keeps on going into relationships and encountering the same problem, going for the same type of guy or the same type of girl and getting hurt again and again in the same place. And this represents how that person is really not defined for themselves what they want in a relationship. They're chasing what they think they want, or what maybe makes them comfortable in the short term, what gives them worth and value in the short term, but not in the long term. So this is something to really ask yourself. What do you want from your relationships? What are the standards you expect? And get this down in print, get this down in writing, because when you put something in writing, you solidify it and you make it like a declaration to yourself. And now what's also really important, and this is the third and final strategy, is once you've worked out what you want from your relationships, you've also got to start projecting that into the world. If you have particular standards and principles that you expect from a relationship, you have to live to those standards and those principles. And there are a couple ways to do this. One of the first ways you can do this is you can use something called the 6-word standard, which is a technique developed by Brendon Burchard. And now the 6-word standard involves creating 3 words based on how you want to be every day, how you want to feel every day, and how you want to interact every day. And so we'll focus on the second half, is what 3 words do you want to encapsulate how you want to interact, how you want to be in your relationship. So maybe one of your words is attentive. You want to give someone full attention. Maybe another is empathy. You really want to understand and appreciate how that person feels. Maybe another is kindness. You always want to go and seek to do the best for people and try to help them and try to serve them and try to give them love. So you can do this right now as you're watching. Take a few moments and write down what 3 words most encapsulate how you want to be in your relationships. And I'll do a quick time check of how I'm doing. All right, man, this is gonna be about bang on half an hour, and this is my first run through of it. It's my first practice, so really good that it's gonna be just about right on time. So if you're in those 3 words yet, and now this is something that you can come back to and you can explore and reflect upon. I know that my 6-word standard, there's 1 or 2 words that have changed over time, but mostly actually they've stayed consistent. I've managed to tap into what my values and intrinsically who I really am and who I want to be. And now when we're talking about projecting, you want to prime these words for yourself. So it's not just good enough to write them down and say, oh yeah, this is how I want to be. You've got to prime that person that you want to be each day. And there's a number of different ways that you can do this. You can start with some morning affirmations. So affirmations are empowering statements about who you are, and more importantly, the best version of who you are. So you can form affirmations based on those 3 words. So for example, if one of the words is attention, you can do an affirmation saying, I seek to bring full attention into my interactions each and every day. If another one of the words was empathy, another one of your affirmations could therefore be, today I seek to really understand and appreciate another person's world. Today I seek to really understand and appreciate another person's world. And so you create these empowering statements, and in the morning, say them out loud to yourself. Write them in your morning journal if that's what you do. Prime that intention for the day. Say, yes, this is who I seek to be this day. This is the standards that I set for myself. And you can also have a practice that keeps you accountable throughout the day. So a way that I love to do this, and you can do this for pretty much anything that you want to prime through the day, is set alarms on your phone. So I personally have alarms on my phone right now to prime me for positive thinking, or at least to be aware of my thoughts and what I'm thinking. So my alarm right now is every 3 hours, 9 a.m., 12 p.m., 3 p.m., 6 p.m. I have an alarm and a reminder that comes up on my phone saying, how do I choose to think right now? And this primes me to monitor my thoughts and see if I'm allowing negative thinking to slip in, or if I'm in too much of a problem-focused scenario, not enough of a solution-based scenario. And you can do the same thing if you wanted to prime yourself in relationships. Set those 4 alarms on your phone and prime yourself with whatever objective that you have for your relationships. Is it to remember to be kind? Is it to remember to not snap at people? To be calmer, more patient? Is it to try and initiate conversations? Maybe you're someone who's a little shy and struggles with the initiation part of conversations. Have these alarms that say, go start a conversation right now, whether it's with the person serving you coffee, it's someone across the office at work, you're someone that you live with. You can have alarms for all sorts of things. And this is a really powerful and consistent reminder to prime yourself to set your best possible standards in relationships. And so all these concepts that I've talked about are either things that are in my book or are elaborations on the concepts in my book. And for those of you who are watching this now on social media, you're probably well aware that I've got my book, The Last 60 Minutes. It covers what I consider to be the 3 important life truths that I've discovered on my journey. I discovered from the experience of losing my dad a couple years ago. And for those of you who are familiar with the truths, you of course know that truth number 3 is love. It's that most important truth, and what I've really realized that we all need to live our lives by right now. And so if you'd like to learn a little bit more about the concepts behind how we remove ourselves from fear and how we open ourselves up to love, and the incredible benefits that come when we open ourselves up to love on all domains, when you love yourself more, you're able to live and have the most important relationship that you have, which is with yourself. It's the relationship that you're going to have your whole life, so you better make sure it's a good one. When you open yourself up to love, it's amazing what starts to happen in your career and your business. When you project the energy of love out into the world, so much starts to come back to you. And then of course there's the really obvious stuff of opening yourself up to love and being more loving helps with your relationships. It helps with your family, your friends, your colleagues. And so if you'd like to learn a little bit more about how to open yourself up to love, then in the book I outline the fears and the limits that we have in terms of love and how we can begin to break through them. And I also have the 3 L's of love. Now the first one is one that I elaborated on today, which is letting go and the power of forgiveness. But also in there I have another 2 L's, which start to take this beyond yourself and how you extend into other people and how you can bring more love into your interactions, how you can give more love, and how that ultimately deepens your connection with people. So guys, for those of you, my virtual audience tomorrow at the talk, and for those of you right now watching on social media, a little bit into the future, I would highly encourage you to buy the book if you found the concepts that we've talked about today useful and you want to open yourself up to deeper, more meaningful relationships. Then the book is available on Amazon. Just type in The Last 60 Minutes, that's 60 with a written as a number, 60. I'll also probably just include the link in the video description for this. Otherwise guys, thank you very much for spending some time with me on the roof today. Wish it was a little bit sunnier. It's so nice up here when the weather's good. But it's not too cold. It's been good walking around and speaking about love and life, because I feel those two are some pretty damn important topics. Alright guys, peace out for now. Thank you very much for taking the time to join me and watch this video. Go out there and live your life of love and service. Date.